Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Link Live. My name is Marina Mayer, Editor-in-Chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive. And I'm here with my lovely ladies. If you want to go around the room and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Brielle Jakel. I'm the Associate Editor.
And I'm McKenna Morales, and I am the Assistant Editor.
And today is our COVID-19 1 year later special, where we will recap some significant supply chain events that have happened as a result of COVID-19 and compare to how things are today. We have some cool stuff we want to talk about. But before we dive in, just a few housekeeping items. Just a reminder to everybody that nominations for Supply and Demand Chain Executives Top Supply Chain Projects close April 11th. That's this Sunday. So get those nominations in. Because I know people kind of tend to lose. I know I do. I lose track of the calendar, but it's this Sunday, so get those in. Nominations for food logistics top 3PL and cold storage providers will open April 12th. That's Monday. So keep an eye out for that submission form. That will be available on foodlogistics.com at that time. Also, registration is open for our SCN Summit Workforce Development Session in April. And that's where I will meet with the select supply chain professors to learn more about what companies should be doing in terms of hiring, training, retraining, and upskilling supply chain professionals. I'm very excited about this. We have a great roundtable offering of these professors, so I'm very excited. So please be sure to register. I'm going to put all of these links in our chat so you have access to them. But let's get back to business. You know, COVID-19, here we are, 1 year later-ish. Not necessarily a COVID-free world, but we're getting there. Many countries overseas are back on lockdown. Some are still on lockdown. Here in the United States, distribution of the COVID vaccine is rocking and rolling. We'll get to that in a minute. It's also fitting because today happens to be World Health Day. And regardless of where you stand with the vaccine, I just want to, on behalf of my crew, extend a big thank you to all of those on the front lines and behind the scenes working day and night to get this vaccine developed, distributed, and administered. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to all of those who participate in our awards, Pros to Know and Rock Stars of the Supply Chain, so that we can continue to honor and celebrate your achievements. 1 year later, our editorial team is on the way to getting fully vaccinated. Woohoo! I know we'll talk about that soon, but I'm fully vaccinated. I still have about a week and a half, but I'm back from recovery. McKenna is halfway there, and Brielle is on her way, scheduled in a couple weeks, so we're very excited about that. McKenna also published a blog on foodlogistics.com. I'll post that link in there too. But, you know, kind of wanted to talk more about statistics, and McKenna, I'll toss it over to you in a minute, but you know, what I've personally learned from COVID 1 year later, you know, we're shopping different, we're investing our money differently, companies are making different decisions for a variety of different reasons. I'm thankful that a lot of these companies proved me wrong early last year when I said sustainability would fall to the wayside as a result of the pandemic. I'm so glad that I was wrong, because that was the complete opposite. Companies have done so much in sustainability and efficiency, and I'm so proud to be a part of this organization and this industry. Companies retooled to protect their people, their plants, their products. Driver safety was moved to the forefront. Technology still completely continues to change the way we live, shop, and work. And I think, McKenna, you said it in a previous Link Live, like, we now live where we work. And I feel like that's so true. And my kids are still home, so not much has changed there, but we're getting there. Back to McKenna's blog. I know you had some cool statistics in there. I don't know if you want to kind of go over some of that. I'm going to toss things over to you.
Sure. So in my blog that's titled The Predictions of the Food Supply Chain Post-Coronavirus, I just kind of dive into it because when we first made our predictions for 2021, I sat here and like tooted my own horn, and I was like, we're going to go back into a lockdown. I swear that I was very wrong. But a lot of these stats are from the beginning of the pandemic, and as of April 15th, or not 15th, April 5th, over 100 million people have received at least one dose of the coronavirus vaccine. So that's 66% of our little group, but I think that's a really good number. I think that is like 40%, but I don't know. I'm bad at math. I majored in writing, but because of that, the CDC is now uplifting a lot of restrictions on people. So they just announced that people that are fully vaccinated can travel domestically without having to quarantine and without having to take any tests. And other states are now lifting the mask mandate. Wisconsin just did that, and they are also a lot of states are also planning to fully open up by June because things are on a downward trend, but we can't stay too optimistic. We have to continue to get vaccinated and wear our masks and be vigilant. But then, so some of these stats, so indoor dining did suffer during the pandemic, and we can't just deny that, but quick service restaurants proved their value to the industry because of drive-thrus. And according to a survey by NPD Group, drive-thru visits increased 26% in May, April, and June last year, representing 42% of all restaurant visits. Meanwhile, while indoor dining began again back in July, drive-thru visits still increased 13%. And I think people were starting to give up on drive-thrus at that time. So the pandemic really brought it back and showed its importance. Go away. But then also, a Blue Dot survey found that 45% of respondents said that they increased their use of mobile apps to buy food, groceries, and other essentials, with 51% saying they have downloaded at least one new app to purchase all this stuff. I personally have not used any apps, so I'm curious if you guys have at all.
So we used apps to book our appointments. We went through Walmart, but we also had the Walgreens app downloaded, and then obviously our county's app. And we just, whatever was first available is what we took within our area. But I don't know how it is by you here in Illinois. It is a rat race. You're constantly refreshing. You're constantly looking, you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, there's 20 appointments. And then by the time you fill out the form, there's no appointments. They're all done. So it's a mess. I know from the back end, I got Johnson & Johnson, and I'm one of the few people that in my group of people I know that got that vaccine. So I have to go and scan a QR code and fill out a daily log for the CDC to kind of track, my side effects and, everything that I'm going through, because they don't have a lot of data on that specific one. But that's just me. So McKenna, I know you're halfway there. Brielle, you're close. So I'd be kind of curious to see how your journey goes, especially in your state, because I feel like every state it's been different.
Yeah, not to say anything about New Jersey, but that website, the greatest. So yeah, here you had to go on the individual location websites in order to get something. So that was, once I figured that out, it was a lot easier to get an appointment. And then I went onto an individual website for a mega site. So they had widespread availability. So that was awesome. And that's how I was able to schedule an appointment. And I could have even gotten an appointment for like the next day, but my fiance wants, we want to go together, and he's got some stuff that he's extra work that he has to do, and he doesn't want to have the side effects until we're finished with the side.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think it depends on how far you are willing to drive. Getting vaccinated was really important to me because I miss my family and I miss my friends, and they were all getting vaccinated. I had vaccination FOMO really bad. But I wanted to protect myself, and I wanted to protect others as well. And I went to Milwaukee to do it, and Milwaukee is an hour and a half away from where I live. family that lives there, so it wasn't like a huge deal. But I think the distance really matters. And I don't think it matters, but it's all your importance and like comfort levels. I also went to a mega site in Milwaukee, and they didn't tell you which one you were going to get until they were ready to poke your arm. But I got the Pfizer, and it was like the easiest shot of my entire life. It didn't hurt at all. And my only side effect was that I was tired after, like very, like I messaged Brielle and I was like, I'm gonna like pass out. I'm tired.
But you still have your second one. I always heard that the second one is doozy, but we're not experts on the vaccine. So this is just hearsay.
No.
Yeah, it's just by, just gathering and talking to other people and finding out their reactions. And obviously everybody's reactions are different. I think the thing that I find so interesting is how different everybody's reactions are. And then you compare that to, the people that ended up testing positive for COVID, how different their reactions were to testing positive. Some people had a fever, others didn't. Some people are getting sick from the vaccines, others are not. I had the flu for about 24 to 48 hours. And then I felt like $1 million. My arm, on the other hand, I can do this now. I could not do this yesterday without feeling like somebody had stabbed me.
I'm nervous about all of the side effects, especially because I want to get vaccinated now because my brother's wedding is coming up in a month and a half. And so I'm doing a lot of arm workouts because my arms are out in that dress. And if the shot is,
But I mean, they tell you like when I was leaving, they're like, you don't want to rest your arm. You want to keep moving it so it doesn't get stiff. And so we went, and we went to a forest preserve and we walked around because it was a nice day. We did all these things. We grabbed lunch. We came home. We went bike riding. And I was like, I feel great. I don't know what any of these people are talking about. Put the kids to bed, 9 o'clock, boom. It was like a ton of birds.
They were just waiting.
Yeah. It was like,
wow.
I'll get you. And it was like out of the middle of nowhere. And that's when I was like, but the arm thing, I mean, even though I moved it a lot, it still hurt, and you can ice it. And I feel like it just doesn't do anything. So, I mean, I'm not swollen. It's not bruised. It just hurts. It feels like somebody punched you. But I don't know. Again, everybody's different. I'm excited because my husband's currently driving to where he is going to get his vaccine, and he's also getting Johnson & Johnson. So we'll be fully vaccinated. And to kind of back up what McKenna said, just to be able to see people in our family and just kind of get back into the swing of things. My kids are in sports and we're trying to figure out what to do over the summer with their camp. And I just want to make sure that we're all, when we make these decisions, we're all continuing to be as safe as possible. So I commend everybody front and back, up and down, this entire process, because it is a very well-oiled machine, this vaccine distribution. How I know that there's been some kinks and everything going on the way with schedules, but to keep up with the amount of demand that has come about, I think just is no small feat. So, to everybody out there, that is amazing. Some other things from COVID 1 year later, and I'll ask you both this, but what the blessing in disguise has been, at least on my end, is just watching companies put their people first and make sure that they are protecting them, whether it's through PPE, whether it's through additional training and safety. It's putting supply chain education to the forefront. It's making sure that people in our industry are being recognized for all of their achievements. And as much as I complain about my kids always being home, I have enjoyed them being home and being able to kind of be a part of their school experience. I felt like that for a month, and then the novelty wore off really quick. But, that's been kind of fun for me. But at the same time, I think everything that has come out of it, like the technology, being able to drive up and get your groceries or having stuff being delivered to your door. I mean, these are things that companies never would have in a million years thought of. And now it's a reality, and probably some of them will be here to stay. So Brielle, I'm going to toss it to you. What is one thing from COVID that you found that has been something you've enjoyed watching or not enjoyed watching?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something that I thought was here to stay, because there are so many things that are definitely.
That can be, okay, so that can be your question. What do you think will be here to stay? You write a lot about 3PL and packaging and everything, so let's hear it.
Well, so for sure, I think that online groceries shopping is going to stay. Not that it's obviously, I mean, even now it's not as popular as it was like when we were in complete lockdown and like you could only, you only wanted to grocery shop online. But now those stores have like integrated that technology. So it's definitely more common. People like you said, they ramped up their technology and tried to get all the kinks out of it as much as possible. So that's here to stay, whether or not it's used ubiquitously or if it's just like there, it's definitely here. In my pharma article, the pharma supply chain is forever changed. This has really changed the way we handle pharma completely because of, just the steps that needed to be taken to get this vaccine out there so fast. But the pharma chain was already on its way to big changes, because we saw a lot of major news stories where there was like price gouging issues and things like that. So the supply chain in the pharma industry was kind of exposed and on its way to being a really important topic as it was. So now that COVID happened, it just makes that all the more important. In terms of 3PL, technology obviously is a huge deal. I think a lot of companies across the board in the entire world and every sector have figured out, okay, we don't need to have everyone together all the time. There are options for remote work. And so people have taken on just administrative technology a lot faster or figured out, better ways to do that, which has sped things up for data and automation as well, because if you're doing everything on online platforms, there's ways to tap data and machine learning to kind of figure out your best outcome or your best decision-making process. So yeah, obviously technology is the number one thing to come out of all of this, and probably sanitization. Hygiene. So yeah, there's completely different ways of cleaning things now, completely different ways of workplace hygiene. I mean, our minds have been completely altered since this. So a lot of surface wiping, things like that, that'll probably stay.
For the sanitization thing too, I think masks will stay around for a lot longer than anybody will expect. That's something that I actually talked with my dad about in the interview that I did with him for our Unsung Heroes. He said that he thinks that masks are going to be mandatory for a lot longer in warehouses, especially like clean warehouses, because he works in a chemical company. But for like a food warehouse, those should be.
Yeah.
Those should be mandatory for a little bit longer. And in my opinion, I will be shocked if like line cooks in restaurants don't keep them around for longer, because
the hairnet, why not?
Yeah.
It.
When you think about it, people are breathing on your food. And so like it's one of those things that if you think about it too long, it's gross. But I think masks are going to stick around.
I think just for overall general health too. I know that, granted we're not around a lot of people a whole lot, but my kids have been in a hybrid school system since January. And I mean, aside from a couple sniffles from allergies, we haven't seen or heard of a lot of other things cropping up like strep throat, stomach flu, things. I'm going to knock on wood, of course, because it's me. But
I agree. I'm an incredibly sickly person. I think that was one of the first things I ever said to you, Marina, when you first hired. I was like, I'm sick all the time. But I got one cold, and it was when Nancy school went back full time.
But I think the masks are critical because it's just overall, it's protecting just overall germs in general. you cough, you sneeze, you rub your nose, you touch things, and you touch your mouth. I mean, it prevents, you from doing those things, and it makes you more aware and it makes you more cautious. And so that, I think, has been kind of interesting. And I do agree. I think masks will be here, maybe not in the general sense, but for individual sectors and types of roles, I think it definitely will be, and maybe part of it. I think, to add to Brielle's point, I think grocery delivery is going to be, the same way it is. And I think just the overall outlook of how to develop technology and solutions for companies, the end goal is not just to make their lives easier. The goal is to now also make their jobs safer, to make things more sustainable, to make things more visible. We talk about end-to-end visibility all the time. And I think that that's such a huge, for me, that's something that I watch this industry just kind of take and wrap their arms around, because without being able to semi forecast ahead, you get caught in the weeds a lot. And for a pandemic that just continues to go, I mean, it's not like a natural disaster. It came, it wiped you out, it's gone. I mean, this just continues to grow arms and legs of different varieties. Now we hear of all these different variants coming. It's hard to tell where things are going, but I think without the technology in place, companies will continue to suffer. I know we've even talked about it on our SCN summits with industry experts. I know, Brielle, you and I have talked about it with a lot of these drivers and a lot of these transportation folks. So in terms of like driver safety, worker safety, I feel like that's going to stick around. What are some things that you hope to not see stick around?
I don't like sanitizing things this much. I'm not like I guess because I'm not like a sickly person, I just don't see the need. Like, yeah, there are some gross things in this world, but like this whole time, my dog has been coming over with his drooly ball and dropping it on my lap. It's a part of life. Like, I don't want to be wiping down everything all the time. Like, I can't wait to stop that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sick of getting my temperature checked all the time because, again, I'm a sickly person, but I'm a sickly person who never gets a fever.
Correct. I will have the flu. I never had a fever at all throughout after my COVID vaccine. And I had the chills. I was sweating and I was under like 3 blankets dressed as though it was actually snowing in my room.
Oh my God.
So I agree with you.
That I'm kind of sick of. And also, I don't think like those rays are probably not good for you to get checked that often, but I'm kind of sick of that, or having to wait in line just to enter somewhere.
I mean, I always get like a little bit of panic, like when I go to the gym and I'm like, do I have a fever? I feel like it's like, one of those,
like, even very stressed, like you're gonna develop a fever just by
going to the dentist or something.
Yes.
Like I took the day off, like an afternoon off to go to the dentist. I'm like, oh my God, if I have temperature and they can't tell, like this just screws up my whole day. Like,
Oh, see, I'm nervous. That's going to be how I find out I have COVID is I'm going to go to the gym or and they're going to be like, you have a fever. And I'm going to be like, what? And, I'm terrified.
I know. And I think just the whole, like, not just socializing, because I know everybody wants to kind of get back into that, but I have really enjoyed not wearing work clothes or work shoes or just killing myself traveling and killing myself going all over the place. I think back to how we ran 1 million miles a minute every day. And I just, don't want to spread myself too thin anymore. And I just don't know how I did it before, but this was a kind of a wake up call. Like, hey, you kind of need to slow down. You don't need to say yes to every party or to every event or go everywhere. I do miss concerts. I do miss sitting outside of a bar watching a live concert. I do miss, those kinds of things, celebrations.
I miss going to a restaurant after 10.
Yeah. That's right, in New Jersey, you can't do that.
Yeah, me and my fiance wanted to grab a beer at the bar down the street just because like we just wanted to get like a 6-pack and like have a beer there, like even at a table, and they were closed. Everything's closed after 10. I'm like, oh my God.
That's how it is in Wisconsin anyways.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, not here. Well, certain parts maybe. But I think, yeah, there's certain things that like, yeah, you miss and you're kind of like, And even though it may be different, like going to a concert, what I hated about concerts is, and I get claustrophobic, is just being around other people like smashed. So now the new way of going to concerts where you're kind of spread out more may be more appealing. I don't know. But, yeah, there are things that, I kind of miss and hope return, and maybe return in the same format that they were. They could be a little different. I don't know. I think just getting back to life. Yes.
I know one. I miss writing an article where COVID wasn't mentioned.
True.
I haven't written a single article where you don't mention COVID, because how can you?
It just so drastically changed our lives. Like,
Yeah.
we're all at home. Usually I would have to be in the office every day. And our lives will never be the same because of it. And that sounds so melodramatic to say, but it's so true. But the one thing, we talked about this, or you guys talked about it, but the one thing that I really do hope stays is contactless delivery.
Oh my God, yes.
I love it. I love it.
To say, because that's a part of the apps now. It's all part of the apps. I'm like,
yeah.
Mine is, don't talk to me ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make contact with you. But I am surprised it took that long. I'm surprised it took a global pandemic for delivery to be a thing. It is genius. Like, leave me alone. Just leave it on my door. Maybe knock, or maybe just send me a text message.
Don't knock, because that let's not get the dogs involved.
Yeah. I know. I have a little sign up that says just don't bother.
It's like, it's wonderful. That is I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, I cried constantly for like 2 weeks because I was just so scared and so stressed. And finally my fiance was like, your life hasn't changed. You never left it anyways.
Yeah.
So it's so different. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But contactless delivery changed my life. And I want that to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurants, keep it. Don't bring back people.
Well, and I think a lot of restaurants, what I've loved watching is how these restaurants have continued to innovate to stay afloat. Obviously, a good number of them unfortunately closed as a result of the pandemic. But the ones that have survived have really innovated in different ways. I know we have talked about how they've had to-go beverages, or they've, done different things with their websites. Now they're delivering and they weren't before. So the innovation, I think, behind that sits quietly behind this pandemic is really what has allowed companies and the economy and all of us to continue to just live our lives, even though there's all this stuff going on. And I think that is just what really just continues to drive me to help these companies tell their story and make them so that they're noticed and they're celebrated and they're honored for all of their achievements. So I don't know. I just hope that somebody will let me wear my slippers to the trade show, because I'm not putting on my shoes. My heels have not seen the light of day in over a year.
I just got horrible flashbacks.
And I'm totally fine with that. So, hopefully that will continue. I don't know. But
yeah. I thought of something else that I want to be done with forever, and that's handshakes. I'm sorry. I don't ever want to shake someone's hand. I didn't want to shake someone's hand prior to COVID, but I hope that's gone. I will bump elbows with you any day. I don't want to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Oh.
Note to self.
I'd much rather give someone a hug. And I'm short, so I'm usually like armpit level.
No,
I would much rather give you a hug than shake your hand. That is just very gross to me. I hope we don't have to do that anymore.
I'm sorry. How is a hug less gross than shaking a hand?
Because people don't wash their hands that often. So I was just in a public restroom the other day, and a girl didn't wash her hands and she left. And I was astonished. And
How often do you wash your shoulder?
All the time.
I wash it every day, Brielle. I don't know what you're talking about.
Every day. But just like the sweatiness of hands, we can talk more, but we can argue more about this offline. But I hope that my smile is my handshake sticker stays
Please
around.
don't hug me at a trade show. I'm going to put that out there to those listening.
We just wear a sign that says, just don't bother. Like, just email me. To handshake or not to handshake, we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
I think, yes, COVID has definitely put a number on our industry. It has definitely put a number on a lot of the companies that we work with. But, thanks to a lot of the awards that we do every year and all the articles and podcasts, make sure you subscribe to our podcast channel, all of our video interviews, everything. I think that the industry has done far beyond anything that I ever expected going into this, not knowing what companies were going to do and how people were going to kind of get through this. So they far exceeded my expectations. And so I appreciate everybody in this industry for continuing to do everything that you do just so that we can sit in our houses and talk about it on Link Live. So I appreciate that. And as always, thank you both for your insight. Make sure you go to foodlogistics.com and sdcexec.com so you can read our articles and our blogs and our video interviews and our podcasts. I put the link to the podcast channel in the chat, so make sure you download it because Brielle is rocking and rolling over there. And make sure you join us next week, 11 a.m. Central, Wednesday, for our ProMat special. But what's even more important is we'll be celebrating Link Live's 1-year anniversary next year. And that is because of COVID, we developed Link Live as a way to kind of network with the industry, educate the industry. We've had a ton of wonderful guests on in the past year. We've had a ton of great conversations. We've had interruptions from kids and dogs and mailmen and meter readers, and so many other people have come and joined us. And so we're looking forward to celebrating that. So I will be very excited. So make sure you tune in next week, 11 a.m. Central. And for those of you watching, thank you for being a part of our conversation today. And we hope to see you soon. Thank you as always, ladies. I'm not shaking any hands, so don't worry.
Thank you. I'll just wave to you.
Bye.